Forex. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily TA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time asking ourselves, well, what happened today and what does it tell us about tomorrow? I do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here from the base of the Rocky Mountains. Folks, glad you could join me here. We've got the day before the Fed, or actually the Fed started today, but it actually won't finish up until tomorrow. But probably one of the most anticipated Fed meetings that we've had in a very long time. The Fed's been center point, for a long while at this juncture because of all the central bank manipulation, for lack of a better word, that's been going on for 5 years now. It's almost hard to believe it's 5 years, but it is. 5 years since we had a crash with Lehman. We started the huge down. Actually, the highs were made in 2007. Everybody always talks about the 2008. The banking sector, for example, had already caved in 2007, or it began its long decline. But here we are 5 years later from what is officially known, the October of 2008, well, actually about the middle of September. And we're going to make a decision tomorrow. Do we quit? Not quit, but do we just stop putting so much money into the system? In particular, do we stop buying CDSs, or actually it's the MBSs that we're buying, the mortgage-backed securities, and the bonds at the clip of about 40 and 45 billion a month? Or do we continue? Well, I tell you what these markets think. They think it's just going to continue because they are not taking a break no matter what. We had the Dow up again, not that much, but 35 points, 15,529. We're almost at the highs again. The S&P is right on the cusp of the high. 704.76 was the close, up $7 today. The composite, remember yesterday it was down. Apple got up and jumped around a little bit today, and we go back the other way. 27.85 higher, 37.45 and 3/4. NDX up 22, 31.90, almost 31.91. The Russell was the winner, and the Russell's the one we want to look at tonight. 10 points higher, 10.66 is the high. Gold down 11 bucks. Oil was pretty much flat, down a little bit today. Dollar was down, nothing big here. Most of the moves that were going to take place have already taken place, and now we're just getting to drift back up in terms of the equities to set up tomorrow. And that's really what it comes down to. What is tomorrow, and what is it going to bring? What is it going to do? So let's start with the S&P as we always do. The S&P, it's actually interesting. If you look at this chart, you wouldn't think that's a 2-bar reversal. But in fact, it is. It went over that high. That high was 704.95. It got to 705.52. You closed at 704.76. So you actually went over, back under, after more of an extended move. Now, remember the last time we did this, we just went sideways. But folks, we're within, what was it, 709.67? So we're within 4 points of the highs to make all-time highs again. Don't think that's going to stop it, but it is an interesting pattern. You typically don't see it look that way in terms of candles. The Dow Jones is a more typical way of an over-under. You see a little tail at the highs. You go over, back under. You don't close at the highs. That's typically what it looks like. But here on the Dow, the volumes were fairly close, so just slightly lighter today, up into resistance. It's going to redraw that resistance. Last night I was talking about the S&Ps. If it redrew, it'd be at the top. Wonder why it did that. Yeah, it doesn't look right. It looks like it didn't get refreshed. NDX. So the NDX goes over the highs about 7 days back, 8 days back now. No volume, hanging up there. Those dark candles from yesterday we didn't get a gap down today, didn't do a thing. Inside day here, inside day on the IXIC. So you have over-unders on the listed issues, you have inside days on the OTCs with the exception of the Russell. And the Russell, once more, is probably giving us the best signal telling us it wants to go higher. Russell gets over yesterday's bar, closes over it, gets over the swing point high bar, closes over it. Actually has volume compared to that swing point high. That's a confirmed bullish continuation at the highs. This one is the one that's probably giving you the best signal. I expect tomorrow you're going to get the Fed. The Fed's probably going to tell you it's going to do 10 to 15 less per month. And the market, maybe it jumps around or whatever, but before it's over, the market probably is just going to work higher off of it. I mean, that's already built in. And it's potential that the Fed doesn't even do anything tomorrow. And if that happens, then you're definitely going to get a rally. They're going to pop the top. They're going to get over the top here, and then we'll see if they have any juice once they get over it. Do they simply run the stops that are up there? Because you know there's some stops up there on the Dow and on the S&Ps. And I suspect, although the Russell doesn't usually carry that many stops, there would be some on it as well. Let's go look at the sectors and see what they look like, see if any of those give us a clue into tomorrow's meeting that's any different than what the indexes are doing. Now, IYT just hanging at the top, nothing there. SMHs, now the SMHs had an ABCD up, and look at that, they get over that big dark candle and close under it on less volume. So that's two bad candles in a row now. On 4016, yeah. That's interesting. And that's after an extended move. It is an ABCD up though. You know, your A point. Yeah, your A point is down here. You could take either of these two. Your B point's one of these, whichever one's highest. Looks like it's that one. It's not even a clean ABCD. You really never got a lower low up here on any of these. Yeah, it's just not even a clean ABCD up, but that's certainly strength. You can't say it's not strength, because it definitely is. Here's the XLB. XLB couldn't get anything going. Back in the gap a little bit. No volume. Nobody wants to sell up here. XLE still hanging. Now remember, the XLE broke out over the highs, but it didn't do it on the weekly, and it just can't get any juice behind it. Let me look at the USO right quick. Was this down today? Oh yeah, so oil was down today. And down a decent clip. 40 cents, that's a percent, down a percent today. Okay, so that's why XLE just can't get anything going. But it's still hanging up there. It's just hanging. Here's the XLF doing the same thing. Yesterday you had kind of an ugly finish. Today, what do? You're inside 2051. You get over it. And this is another over-under that wouldn't look like one normally. That's interesting. 2052. Oh no, it wasn't under. It stayed over it. It closed at the highs. So it's over it. So XLF still looks like it wants to go higher. Everything still looks like it wants to go higher, folks. I don't see anything here telling me we're going to fail. XLI, new highs, closes at new highs. XLK, inside bar after an ugly candle. But you know, we didn't get the gaps down. The gaps down would have been bad, but we didn't get them. XLP actually gets over that high from yesterday as well. Still trying to carry the XLV. The healthcare. Actually, I went to the utilities first. Utilities inside day. That one can't get going. XLV. This one had an ABCD up, and it hung. It hung again, right? These are not bad things. You get up there, and even if you can't get the juice, at least you're hanging. XLY. Yeah, also a dark candle gets erased. So, sector-wise, nothing different. You know, everything up here keeps telling us the same story, and that is that these V-shaped runs that we've seen before, Well, folks, they're just coming right back at you. I mean, this started on August 28th. We are now September 17th, so we're 3 weeks into the move, and really no pullback whatsoever. If you shorted in here somewhere, you're getting your head handed to you. If you didn't buy somewhere along the line here, you're wishing you did, and it's too late now to buy. And if they run these stops tomorrow, it's definitely going to be too late to buy, and then you're going to be pressured into buying, is typically what happens. So if you're in that boat, just realize that there's always another trade, and you just wait for your trade. Because the worst thing you can do is chase something, get in at a bad entry point, then it comes back, and then you can't really buy much because you've already bought. So, you know, if you miss a move, you miss a move. That's just the way it goes. That happens. Don't compound your problem if in fact that's what you did. So, TLT, remember we had a huge down reversal yesterday, and what does it do today? Inside day, volume expands. You know, I know as ugly as this looks, it's hard to believe, but this thing still wants to go higher. They can't break it down. There's no sellers down here. So what would make this go higher off the Fed? If the Fed said that it was going to keep things where they were, this is going to rally. It's already discounted in it's discounted in my opinion, more than what the market believes they're going to do. So unless the Fed really comes out tomorrow and does a huge taper, these bonds are probably going to rally. Let's look at the dollar and the euro. Now the dollar would get weaker if we didn't taper. It would get stronger if we do. Here's the FXE just sitting there, FXY. Let's see what she's doing. Nothing. How about the UUP in general? So the UUP was down today, not that much. And again, it's right down here trying to break down support. So tomorrow, you know, the way I do a Fed day or any day of significant news is I try to look at bonds, the dollar, sometimes gold and silver as well, in particular gold, to try to give me a feel, and commodities like the XLB or even just commodities outside that, maybe industrial metals, copper, things of that nature, to see what the first read is on whatever happens. If all of those move the way you would think they would move, in other words, let's say that they come out and they taper 10 billion, which is kind of what's expected. Given what I see here tonight, I would expect bonds to rally. I would expect the dollar to rally. I would expect stocks to hold and try to push a little bit higher. And I would expect the gold market to actually push higher too. I would actually expect to see green across just about everything, which is not probably what most people would expect, but the charts are set up that way. And so when I go into these things, I like to know what to expect and then see what happens, which gives me a better read on how the market either was or wasn't discounting things correctly, and then use that information to trade on. Okay, so the UNL we looked at last night, we were thinking it might try to work higher. It tried today, didn't get anywhere, it did a little bit more volume, it'll probably be right back up there. Let's look at gold. Gold is stuck down here until the Fed does its thing. Yeah, couldn't do anything. This is interesting. No volume testing the lows again. Couldn't get under them. I mean, well, couldn't stay under them. It's like the third time now it's trying to reverse. You only get so many tries. If you can't reverse it at some point, you might as well forget it. You're going the other way. JJC, nothing there. All right, let's take some of your questions because I can sit here and talk about the Fed all night and not tell you anything more than I already have. So let's look at what you want to look at. So Mr. Feedy says, "Good evening. Good evening to you, sir. How does EEM look?" Mr. Hartman wants to know. So let's take a look at the EEM and see what she looks like. So Let me go get my portfolio, or I can throw these in right quick. So we got what? EEM, GDX, and anything else you want. So, and DAL. DAL actually got upgrades today, so they were probably up today. Let's look at EEM to start with, since that was the first question. So EEMs, the emerging markets, they've been on a pretty good run, and they do a little bitty pullback today. So I think you're going to get more of a pullback off of these. Let's pop over to the weekly. Yeah, I think you're going to get a pullback right in here. This should pull back. If you look on the weekly into the 40 area, let's see on the daily. Also, this looks about the same here. I think you come back and try to retest regen off these highs and off the bottom of that bar. That bar is 40.35. So if you're trying to get into this, I would just be patient. Let it come back. It will come back. And when it comes back hard, which makes it hard to buy if you bought up here anywhere. So just wait on it. That's what I do. And when it comes back, I'll buy it. The GDX, so gold stocks, they were actually up today. I don't know if they closed up. They were up about 1.5% at one point, and they actually did close up. So this is interesting. So gold can't move, silver can't move, but the stocks are moving, or at least trying to move. Okay, so it's coming back into resistance. 26 is at the top of that bar. You got into 26 here and failed. And it comes right back up and it sits right underneath it again to try to pop over it tomorrow. You know, I could argue this thing either way. You know, because you're deep enough into the big bar. You've been there 4 bars now, and the big bar is the August 8th bar. That you could certainly go seek the bottom end of it, right? And come back into this one. And that one, which I told you once before, is actually the ideal place to try to buy it. And I know when we were up here and I was talking about that, people probably thought I was nuts. But here we are, almost to them. So, you know, if gold sells off and comes down in this area, that's probably going to be a buy. You know, the gold stocks. They may not give you, you know, you don't always get the ideal entry. They came into support once, held. They got to get back over this bar, 26. So, you know, 26 is the number. You get over 26, you can get another run going to the top side. DAL, so Delta Airlines. All right, so Delta, no, that's a failure today. Okay, you have to be careful, you know, ABCD structures, just like qualified trends, they are qualified. They have suspect ones and they have confirmed ones. This one is a suspect one, and actually it's not even as big as you probably think it is. Your A point was here, you had a B point there, a C point here, and you finished it off with that. So now this is your A, 1975. This is your B, that's roughly 320 or so, or 330, and onto that would give you about 25, right? And it's trading at 23.71, so another $1.30. Now the problem is you do an over under after an extended move, right? Because you really haven't had much of a break here. You had a little bit of a break, but you do a 2-bar reversal and you have a suspect breakout. Huge volume here. You get over it. You barely stayed over it, and now you just stayed over it with an ugly candle on a 2-bar reversal. So I always qualify this in the fact that I never trade airline stocks because I always tend to lose on them. You know, they're just, for whatever reason, you know, there's some things you just simply can't trade, and you have to learn not to look at them. I mean, I'll look at them for you, but, you know, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know that this one's going to keep going. I think you'll get a pullback off of it. Missed your question on junk. Oh, okay, thank you. Please look at JNK. Yeah, sure. Let's see what it looks like. So, the junk bonds. Now, yesterday, they had actually failed that resistance, and today they actually got back over it. So you got your breakout, you got over the swing point high. It's going to be, it didn't fail yesterday. I thought it actually was under it. 39.78 was the close. Huh. Oh, 39. Okay. So anyway, you got over it, and now it's going after this one, 39.89, and it's at 39.90. So we got over that one today too. Volume's 4.7 over 3.4. Well, here's another indication that this market wants to go higher, right? Junk bonds are much more risky instruments if you think equities are going to fall, because they're based on, junk bonds are issued by companies whose credit worthiness isn't so great, so they have to issue higher yielding bonds to attract monies. And that is essentially junk bonds. And these guys are telling you that the fear is not there in the equities. So, I mean, it's not pretty. It's kind of a tough ride up here, but it is getting over it. It looks to me like it's going to get over it. So I would view that as a positive for equities and a positive for these as well. I don't know that I want to buy junk bonds, but it is a positive. Okay, so until I see some more questions here, I'm going to pop over and see what the world market looks like. My guess is they're all sitting at their highs, but I haven't looked at them in a couple days, so let me see what they show. So Australia sitting at the highs. Can't gripe about that. So they're over on both the weekly, and they're sitting at the highs on the daily. The Sensei is also, looks like it's gearing up to make another run for the highs. And this is where your rupee has just totally been, devalued like crazy. Here's the Bovespa that's going back after the highs. Got no volume though as it comes back up. This one looks a little bit more dangerous now. It still has a decent pattern, but you'd like to see volume pick up as you come back up towards your highs, and it's not doing it. So that one, it's okay, nothing special. I know that China got hit last night to about 2%. Let's see what Hong Kong did. Didn't even pull back. I guess they're expecting the futures must be indicating up over there. Let's look at the Japanese market, the topics. Yeah, can't get going. So the bottom of this bar is 14,413. 14,4, so it's underneath it. Looks like it's going to pull back some more back into support. I saw something from a quote from the central banker, Abe, talking to how the Japanese market is a buy. I mean, it's just so off base. It's like you're going to have central bankers telling you when you should buy stocks. That's got to be a great tip. Taiwan's going for the highs. They're all going for the highs. I suspect Europe's the same. Let me see what those look like right quick. Yeah, you got the DAX at highs. I expect the CAC is at highs. And it's still holding them. Trying to come back and do a little retest, regen. 41. Actually got over here, so it's already done it. So you got highs, and let's see if the FTSE has gotten back up there. It's the weakest of the three. I got there, and then that's interesting. Got some big volume today coming out of that thing. Now that I don't know what that tells me. That's a lot of volume coming out of there. Huh. I have to go check that volume. That's huge. That's weird, actually. And let's see what our friends up in Canada look like. I can't get good volumes on them, but they're at their highs too. So your world market's at the highs. Your domestic market's at the highs. The sector's at the highs. Everything's at the highs. It's a good time for Uncle Ben to retire, right? He's totally fixed everything. Thought I'd look at the ETFs until you give me another question, see if they look all right. 106.08. So is that an engulfing? So the high was 106.08, 104.85, 104. No, it wasn't an engulfing. 106.05. It closed at 105.04. Actually, it was. It was a bullish engulfing today. Even another bullish signal. Okay. All right. I'm a little tired. Time's almost up. Tomorrow, the big question: what does the Fed do? And I don't think it's a huge question. I expect it's going to either come in 10 to 15 billion taper or even less. I expect these markets are going to move up on it, and then we're going to try to pop the top. We'll see how many stops are up there. That's what they're going to do. They're going to run and gun them. And if there are stops up there, you'll get a nice little surge, and then you'll get a retest regen off of it. And that's the way it looks to me right now. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to turn these computers off and take a break. It's been a long day. Have a great night, folks. I appreciate you being there. Tell a friend, tell two. As always, I'm L.A. Little. This is and was your daily TA wrap. Have a great one.